So I'm going to talk a little bit about how do we process all of this for educational purposes. We've talked about change, and we've said change is very important. The surprising thing is that there is great acceptance for change. But what are the fundamental issues that change by itself throws up for us as educators and for our children as students and learners, and for the administrators of this entire ecosystem? And how do we deal with this change? And the interesting thing is that students have changed, learning processes have changed, but teaching has not changed. Teaching methodologies have not changed. And so therefore, we continue to teach students who no longer take in information in the way that they used to or the educators used to, nor do they process information in that same manner, and nor will they use that information or that learning in the same workforce that they thought they would. So what is the fundamental question here? The fundamental question is, if there is a change, what is the key for educators to deal with that change? Now let's look at some really interesting statistics. An average college graduate today has spent less than 5,000 hours reading. But all of you who have children at home know for a fact that they have spent more than 10,000 hours on the computer or using their telephone, and perhaps if you count their age, if you count the amount of TV viewing hours from the time they could be sitting in front of a television, that's about 20,000 hours. So what does that then have an implication for us as educators? And I want to talk a little bit about the definition that we might want to put for this whole new paradigm. So are we digital generation, or are our students the next generation? And I liked Mark Prensky's definition that they are the digital natives. They've grown up in this entire ecosystem that is actually digital. They're surrounded by this ubiquitous use of technology, learning systems, managing information, all of this. The use of technology is ubiquitous. So what does that make me and some of you here in this audience? We did not learn, we did not grow up in this ecosystem, in this ubiquitous technology-enabled ecosystem. So if our children today are digital natives, then what are we? We are the digital immigrants. So we've migrated from a particular kind of learning methodology to a new kind of methodology for learning. But the surprising thing is that we continue to teach, even though we might use technology, we continue to teach as if we were teaching ourselves in the last 20 years. We continue to have with us a very particular accent, and it is called the digital immigrant accent. So we don't let go of that accent. We might use technology, but technology is really more or less a patchwork. So we do hard concepts using technology. So we'll do something using technology. There were several instances for that. I mean, you'd send them an email and then you follow that up with a call. And you say, "Mera email mila tha?" So, it's that where where the disconnect is. So you're using technology, but you still continue to use the old methodology for reaching out to people, for teaching and for learning. You continue to invite people to the office to see an interesting website. You continue to do several of these things. I mean, there's one student who once asked me, "What does dial a number mean anyway?" Because we still continue to think, dial a number, but we're no longer dialing numbers. We're actually punching numbers. So he asked me, he says, what does dial a number mean anyway? Because he hasn't seen that black telephone that all of us have seen, and you have to kind of keep going, dialing the numbers. So that really is important for us to consider, because this whole disconnect, this whole mismatch between what children can learn and how children can learn, with what we are teaching and how we can teach, is really the crux of how we might use technology for reaching out, for scaling up, for replication, for quality, for increased access, all of these questions. And one of the interesting things is that digital immigrant instructors who speak an outdated language, that of the pre-digital age, are struggling to teach a population that speaks an entirely new language. But the digital native does not really process this information or this learning in the same manner. So that's where the big disconnect is. But somehow, I think, even with the use of technology, we continue to believe that somewhere we can do the patchwork, and that patchwork will work. But the fact of the matter is that there are two important elements to look at if we really want to use technology effectively and optimally to address all those critical issues that we talk about every day in conferences and in seminars, and administrators deal with it in their offices on a daily basis. And to my mind, it's about methodology and content. And I don't have much of an understanding about how, in a country like India, we can change that methodology. I'm very certain that there is no solution for that, to deal with it immediately or to do something overnight. But as far as content is concerned, I can really see two very clear bifurcations. One is the legacy content, the 3 hours, a bit of logical thinking, all of that, instructed in a traditional manner, and has been very good up till now. And then there is the future content, which is all of the traditional content, but also new courses, for example, nanotechnology, genomics, robotics. And supported with that is a completely new system to deliver that. And increasingly, researchers have found that children learn quicker if these are delivered in short, easy to digest modules, and perhaps through gaming. It's easy to teach basic literacy even through gaming. And perhaps that's the reason why games on mobile telephones are such a hit, and why learning can actually become so much fun. So what is the question that I want to put on the table today? And I really want Bala, Colonel Kang, and Meena, who've done enough groundwork, who've been on the ground long enough to know what makes education tick with the masses. I want them to come up and share their experiences with regard to methodology and with regard to content. What I have here is really research-based, but nothing research-based is really important unless and until we have evidence-based research. And this is from where it will come. I also want that the participants here in this session should come up with examples of what they have faced during their work, which will help identify out of the millions and zillions of solutions, that one or that blend of solutions that can work for a country like India. Thank you very much.